I remember going to sleep. I remember going to sleep so happy because I said, my parents believe I could be an astronaut. Ergo, I'm going to be one. And I never looked back since. And, you know, I had a lot of help along the way. You know, the second grade teacher, Miss Young, who convinced my parents to stay there in one place. You know, I was a MESA student, Mathematics, Engineering, Science Achievement student. I was an Upward Bound Trio student. You know, I took advantage of whatever was out there to help me achieve my goal. I was a Community Involvement Program scholarship recipient at Pacific for engineering, and I took advantage of all those things. As soon as I was eligible and graduated from college and eligible to apply to NASA, I started applying. And man, I was so happy when I got that first letter of rejection. Yeah, letter of rejection. Because it had the NASA logo, you know. And it didn't even have my name. It said, "Dear applicant." You know, but more importantly, it had the first thing that I liked was the fact that they said, "We reviewed your application and we agree you meet all minimum criteria to become an astronaut." But then there was the second paragraph that brought me back to reality. They said, "Unfortunately, more than 18,000 people also have the minimum requirements that want to be astronauts." They said, "But feel free to apply again." And so I did. And so 6 rejections in a row, I finally got tired. That 6th letter, I didn't frame it like the first letter. I scrunched it up in a ball and threw it on the floor. By that time, I was married to my lovely wife of 27 years, Adelita. And I remember throwing the piece of paper, aiming it for the garbage can, and it fell on the floor, which is why I'm not in the NBA. And a good thing it missed, because then Adelita was cleaning house, and she saw it, and she uncrumpled it. And then she went to me and called me on it. She says, "What's this?" And I had told her, "Well, you know, I think I'm going to give up because 6 rejections, and no one likes rejections. And I didn't like rejections, but 6 in a row." I said, it's clear that NASA doesn't want me." And she looked at me and she says, "That's not what I read here." She said, "Read the last sentence. It says, 'Please feel free to apply next year.'" She says, "Maybe NASA doesn't want you this year, but you don't know if they want you next year." I says, "Don't eliminate yourself." She says, "Because I know you." I said, "You're going to have a little worm of curiosity that's going to eat you up inside because you're the one that's quitting." She says, "Don't be a quitter, because I know you." She says, "It's going to eat you from the inside, and you're going to become a bitter old man. And guess what? I don't want to be married to a bitter old man. So shape up." So she convinced me. And then that's when I started doing something different. I said, "Hey, I'm doing something different. I got to do something different. I can't just blindly apply." And that's where José Rivas had mentioned the fact that what I started doing is I discovered that there's 3 elements to reaching an objective. The first is very obvious. What are the minimum requirements? And that's what I did the first 6 years. I had the minimum requirements. But the second thing I said is I asked myself a very fundamental question. I said, what do those astronauts have that I don't have? And you can't use race as an excuse. You know, I refused to. I said, NASA's better than that. And I said, there's got to be other things. And sure enough, I found that they were all pilots. So I said, hey, I'm going to invest in myself and become a pilot. Next year, I still didn't get selected. I asked that same question. Sure enough, they were all pilots, and I was a pilot, so I was happy. But then I said, there's got to be some more stuff. And then they were all scuba diver rated. So every weekend, I would drive from Stockton to Monterey. I got scuba certified. I got basic, advanced, scuba master, and scuba rescue. I wanted to make sure NASA knew I knew how to scuba dive. So that was the second element is compare yourself with people that are already there and ask yourself, what qualities do they have? What attributes do they have that I need? And be honest with yourselves. And then don't be afraid to invest in yourself to be like them, okay? The third thing is you got to rise above the competition. And that came to me by a project when I was working at Lawrence Livermore Lab. I remember there was a project that called for scientists to go to Russia and help the Russians with their nuclear nonproliferation, protect their nuclear material. No one wanted to go because it meant a 5-year commitment where you would travel to Russia, Siberia, 5-6 times a year for 3 to 4 weeks at a time. And no one wanted to go, man. I put my hand up. I said, put me in, coach, I'll go. And the reason why I put it in is because you also have to be strategic with how you manage your career. I had read during my commutes from Stockton to Livermore, listening to NPR, I had learned that the US and Russia had signed an agreement to build what was going to be the International Space Station up in space. So it didn't take a rocket scientist to figure out, even though I am one, but it didn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that we were going to be working with the Russians up in space in the near future. So I put 2 and 2 together, came up with 4, and said, I'm going. And I not only did that, I said, hey, boss, now that I committed to this 5-year project, doesn't it make sense for me to take a Russian language course so I can do my job better up in Russia? And he said, yeah, I'll pay for that. And after 5 years, я понимаю по-русски язык, learned Russian. So put that in the resume. And I did. So that's how I got selected. That's how I got selected. After the 12th try, I became part of the 19th class of astronauts. And let me tell you,